Hi there, CoronaTV viewers. I'm Johnny Damon.
You're my bobblehead Joel today, just not up and down if you agree. Welcome to the show, Mitch Joel. How are you?
Happy birthday to you.
And just look at those washboard abs.
I know, right? Oh yeah, this is the fittest I've ever been in my life, you know.
Happy birthday from Johnny Damon.
First of all, let's just do the elbow bump. I have to say that I really love that opening credits, and it just makes me feel so good. I had the opportunity to go and reskin it a little bit, and I just love it. It just makes me feel good, and that's important, right? It's important for us to feel good during these times. It's Monday. Happy Monday. It's May 4th, and you know, May 4th is a very important day. You know that, right? It is very important. May the 4th be with you, or you know, to quote Spaceballs, and may the Schwartz be with you. Sorry, that was just one of my favorite moments from Spaceballs, one of my favorite movies of all time. Yeah, may the 4th be with you, and may the force be with you guys during these tough and challenging times. Who better than to have Jamie MoCrazy with us today, because we talk about adversity, we talk about challenging times. Jamie has gone through adversity. She's going through adversity now, like all of us, with respect to, you know, she's a public speaker, she's an entrepreneur, she's faced with the same challenges that we all are, being, you know, well, she's not exactly a solo, you know what I mean. She works with her sister. We'll find out more about that. How do you pronounce that? Solo entrepreneur. I think I got it right. But she encountered a traumatic brain injury, and she'll tell you all about that. You'll actually see a little video about that and how she's bounced back. Amazing. You know, this is the spirit of resilience, of determination, of courage, of bravery, of backbone that we need to look towards during tough times, to be inspired, to inspire others, to lift ourselves up, and realize that we can make it, and we can make it back, and we can change everything about our lives. And that's what Jamie and I are going to be talking about. So Jamie today, Jason tomorrow, Bob Norp on Wednesday. Bob is a sport, so he's decided that we're moving to Corona cocktails on Wednesday. It feels like always my Wednesday guest is an adult beverage consumer. So we will be drinking on Wednesday at 5 p.m. We'll be talking, but also we'll be drinking as well. And I will have a nice glass of scotch to toast to all of you guys, and to toast to Bob. We'll find out why on Wednesday. Marcus on Thursday, and then Joe on Friday as well. We've got world record holders, right? That's Jamie. She is a world record holder in X Games. She competed in the X Games. Joe is a Paralympian. I mean, I am so lucky and fortunate enough to be sandwiched between Jamie and Joe this week. So speaking of which, happy birthday to the following folk: Adam, Jacob, Sussman, Kevin, Chris, Anoop, Wesley, my buddy Wesley. I missed you at South by Southwest this year, Wesley. We always have such a good time together. Rachel, Meredith, Stacy, Tim the Toolman Taylor. No, I don't think he is Tim the Toolman, but he might be. But Tim Taylor, and Ricardo actually is from LinkedIn, but I had so many people on LinkedIn today that I had to kind of use two screens. So Sindra, Tony, Greg, Kamal, Stanley, Alexander, Adrian, Michael, Brendan, Ozgur, Joel, Aaron, Ronald, Ellie, Louisa, and Ciro. I want to go back for 1 second to Mr. Adam Zand. Adam, I know it's your birthday today, and I know that you're such a big Spurs fan. So I decided to wear this shirt today. I should probably stand up and show you my Spurs shirt. I wonder if you can see it. There you go. So I need you to try and tell me exactly what that shirt means, because it's your birthday and because you're such a big Spurs fan. So I want you to think about what that shirt means, and then you can tell me, and it's going to be absolutely awesome. So guys, it appears to me, and I've been thinking about, as I do the show, how do I make sure when I have, like, for example, like a technical issue, how do I make sure that I keep going, right? As they say, the show must go on. And it appears so is that any better? I think it might be. I just had to go and do a little bit of a reset. I don't know if you guys could see like the lag, etc. Jamie, I know you're in the back. Could you see the lag? Was it bad? It seemed like it was bad to me. And so the question, of course, always is, do you keep going, when things are kind of a little bit tough, right? Isn't that what we're talking about here at the end of the day? Isn't that what we're talking about when it comes to adversity, when it comes to being able to think about real champions, right? Winners never quit and quitters never win. And, we just celebrated birthdays. But let me tell you, today we're also celebrating, we're celebrating the life, but we're also sadly talking about the passing of Don Shula. Now, Don Shula, he passed away at 90. And it's always very interesting when we think about, during these tough times, was it COVID? Was it Corona? I don't think it matters. In this case, at the age of 90, I don't think it was. But what a life this man led. What an incredible life this man led. Let me tell you about it. He was, amongst other things, the Miami Dolphins coach. And he was the architect of the only perfect season in NFL history. Okay, so I went and researched that because I'm not exactly an NFL guy. I'm not exactly I'm a football guy, a soccer guy, but I'm not, a weird pigskin football guy. So in 1972, the Miami Dolphins were undefeated. They were 17-0 that year, and they won the Super Bowl. And then I went and I thought to myself, surely there are other teams that were undefeated in their year. And lo and behold, the Patriots in 2007 were 18-0. They were undefeated during the regular season, but they lost in the Super Bowl, of course, to the New York Giants. I guess that was one of the great victories for Eli Manning, and I am a Giants fan. And also the Chicago Bears in 1934 and 1942 were undefeated during the regular season, but they also lost in the title game in the Super Bowl. So, I wanted to take the opportunity to talk about a great man. And death is inevitable. It is sad and it is inevitable. But it is important to celebrate life, to celebrate those birthdays, but also sometimes to celebrate, even in a passing, the moments to savor, the happy times. It's so important for us to be able to do that. And I cannot emphasize that enough, because we are looking at numbers all the time. We are looking at the numbers continuing to increase. And I did want to actually take the opportunity today to talk about some other numbers. So I just became aware the other day of a new source, a new website called COVID-19projections.com. And what we've actually seen in these projections is we've seen that the numbers in the US are absolutely continuing to rise. In fact, the 60,000, which clearly don't even apply anymore, numbers have gone up. Even the $84,000 $84,000. The 84,000 number looks like it's going to be eclipsed. In fact, President Trump last night in a Fox News town hall indicated that number is likely to hit 100,000, but it's actually going to be north. And according to this site, in 21 days from now, we could be looking at 117,000 deaths in the US. Now, I'm bringing all of this up for a reason. I'm bringing all of this up simply because I'm still confused as an American, as someone living here, seeing these states opening up, seeing bowling alleys and tattoo parlors and hairdressers going back to work. I get it. I believe in it. I think it's important. I believe in our right to earn a living, of course, but I'm confused by the lack of uniformity, the lack of standardization, what is really, I feel, ultimately costing us our lives. And it's something that I feel like we need to be vocal about. If we're upset, if we're angry, if we're confused, if we're frustrated, we've got to be able to vent and vocalize and share, because the worst thing we can do is to repress it, is to suppress it, is to bottle it in and bottle it up. Maybe that's what ends up happening, God forbid, like in Canada, where there was that mass shooting. We have to be able to make sure that our mental health and our mental wellness is taken care of at the best of times. So, those were a few things that I wanted to talk about. There's a lot of other stuff in the news at the moment. For example, J. Crew. J. Crew has just filed for bankruptcy. Yet another company that unfortunately, as it turns out, was built to suck. Another company that wasn't able to make it during tough times. And this is something that I've said and something that I will continue to say, which is we need to be able to build up buffers in our personal life and buffers in our professional life. We need to make sure that we have some reserves, that we have some fat on our bodies. We need to make sure that when it is extremely cold, we can hold on to that little bit of chubbiness. At least I have that chubbiness that I have to hold on to. But seriously, we have to be able to make sure that we have reserves, that we have gas in the tank, because times will be tough. And if you actually don't believe that, then you are foolish. You are delusional. You are a fool if you don't believe things are going to be bad. And if you think things are bad, you also have to be realistic that things might get worse. Of course, we want them to get better. Something that I've said recently is, they say, hope for the best, plan for the worst. I do not say that. I say plan for the best, plan for the worst, and screw hope. Hope is not a strategy, and it's certainly not going to help dig you out of that hole. What we need to be are planners, and what we need to be are strategists, and what we need to be are fighters. What we need to be able to use our reserves to bounce back, to fight, not to freeze and not to run away. And I think that is probably the best segue to bring our guest, to be inspired by our guest, by Jamie MoCrazy. Now, Jamie just actually told me something that's kind of very cool. Jamie, welcome to the show.
Hi.
You just told me that you actually are changing your legal name to MoCrazy.
I am. Yeah. It's been a nickname for a long time and has been growing and growing, and now going to be my actual name.
So we're going to find out about how crazy that is, or MoCrazy that is. But what I thought we'd do is start off with a video that kind of sets the scene and tells people exactly who you are and what you've had to overcome.
On April 11th, 2015, I was competing at World Tour Finals. On my second run, I landed on my feet, but I caught my edge and whiplashed my head onto the snow. My brain started bleeding in 8 spots, and I hurt my right brainstem, which paralyzed my right side. I immediately went into a coma. I was in a coma for 10 days. I had serious amnesia, so no memory at all for a month and a half. And then when my mind came back, it decided to stick around, and I started my recovery process. Over the course of my recovery process, I realized you can set attainable goals. You can look at every incident with a growth mindset, and you can love yourself throughout the process in order to create your own luck. In that sense, with creating your own luck, you build these miraculous lives that people say, wow, that life is so lucky. But you created your luck.
Jamie, how does it feel watching that video? Because for me, I mean, it just fills me with emotion. You've obviously seen that video often. How does it make you feel when you look back and think about that moment?
I've seen that video lots of times, and it still catches my breath and makes me think about who I was, what I overcame, the support I received, because I could not have made my recovery by myself. So I feel really grateful every time I watch it for all the support I received.
I mean, I feel that I'm fortunate to have met you and to have had the pleasure to get to know you. You are, I don't think you can see it from looking at her, but Jamie is actually 7'5". That's how tall she is. No, she's not. But, you're just a dynamo. And, I think when you look back on that, and the reason why I asked you that question is, there are 2 types of people in the world. There are people that look back in regret, and then there are people who look back with pride. And I sense that you're definitely the latter in terms of looking back at what you accomplished, but use that as a springboard to move forward.
Yeah, I definitely look back on what I accomplished, and that's the reason I am a speaker and I do my work, is because I received so much support that I want to give it out to many people who don't receive the support, and many people who don't have the knowledge, like occupational therapists or physical therapists who are actually working on these people and don't know that a case can happen like mine. And so how to analyze their problems differently and think about it differently.
So you encountered a traumatic brain injury,
Mm-hmm.
and you obviously are faced with the reality that A, you have to recover, B, you have to figure out what you're going to do with your life, but C, there must be also that element of recognizing, and I'll put it up again on the screen. You were a world record holder. You were an X Games competitor. Also, this I think realization that chapter in your life wasn't ending, but that chapter in your life was closing.
Mm-hmm. It was really hard. When I was first recovering, at the very beginning with my serious amnesia, I actually refused to believe I was in a hospital. I would tell the nurses I was in a movie about a hospital because old people or sick people went to the hospital, and I never associated myself with being old or sick or invalid. An invalid. And so I wouldn't believe it. And then when it began to dawn on me, I still thought I was going to go back to competing. That was what I was going to do. I associated my traumatic brain injury with a similarity to a torn ACL. You're out for the year, you come back. And then that winter, I began to realize I had to relearn everything. I had to relearn how to ski. I had to relearn, at the beginning, how to walk, but every trick I had to relearn in skiing. And when you're learning, you fall a lot. And if I hit my head again, the doctors didn't know what would happen, but they thought very strongly it would be a lot worse because of my brain injury. Like a concussion, I would react really poorly to it. So they strongly recommended I didn't hit my head. And so I can't learn tricks without hitting my head. And so I realized I was stepping away, and I made the choice. I made the decision to step away from skiing. And my mom, luckily, she's a therapist, and she knew she couldn't help me because I'm her daughter, but she got a brain injury alliance that I was connected to help fund my support and to go to psychotherapy. And I had to go to psychotherapy 3 days a week and then once a week, and then graduated. And I went for a couple of years, and it helped me feel content with who I was and change my outlook on the trauma.
You're definitely getting some love. I know that Facebook comments for some reason are not working on the software that I typically use, but I am seeing love coming in the form of hearts, and that's just definitely coming back. But you know, one of the things that we were discussing it before, and you mentioned it now. You do ski. You know, you didn't run away from your love for skiing and the outdoors. So maybe talk a little bit about the fact that today you still do ski and what that must have felt like going back to skiing, even in a reduced capacity.
Yeah, I do still ski. And the day I went back to skiing, I can still remember I was just ecstatic. Like making the turns just brings this emotion into your heart. It makes you feel so whole. And I was so happy. And I actually am a host on my talk show, Life Gets MoCrazy, on the Brain Injury Radio Network. And a lot of the people I've interviewed who have connections to life-changing injuries or traumas and overcoming them talk about how powerful the outdoors is in helping us overcome. And this is something that you can bring into just with what's happening right now. Just go outside, go walk your dog, look at the sun. Like, the power of the sun is huge, and getting outdoors is so helpful, and doing something that brings you passion. Maybe it's doing yoga or Pilates or something that gives you active and gets your hormones running in your body, and then going outdoors. And so I was really lucky. Now I can go have some of the best days skiing with my friends and family and just having so much fun on the top of a mountain. And whatever it is for you, something outdoors and something that boosts your cardio is very important to do right now.
You know, all I'm thinking of right now as you're talking is how fortunate I am and how lucky I am to be able to go for a walk or go for a run.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, the weather was great in the Northeast, and it was, I think, high 70s. And I think it's almost like a meta type of thing, but it's the ability for us to get out of our body and look down on ourselves and actually say, are you aware of everything around you? Are you taking it in? Can you almost immortalize this moment? Can you freeze this moment? Can you savor this moment and maximize it? Maximize the joy. And I think that's what you're talking about, whether it's the sun, whether it's the fresh air, whether it's, you know, just for you, and I think to myself, like, what outdoors represents for you, and how many people right now are indoors, and how many people are struggling because they can't get outdoors. And hopefully when they do again, not if, but when, they'll appreciate every one of those beautiful moments outdoors. Yeah, so I want to move a little forward with you and talk about, you're going through psychotherapy. You're going to get back on the slopes, but in a different capacity. At what moment do you kind of pivot? Do you realize that do you take your life in a different direction? And do you say, this is what my career and my focus is going to be?
Well, great question. At the beginning, I didn't actually know that I was going to get back to skiing, and I didn't know it was going to be different. I assumed, even when I was in the hospital, that I was going to get back to skiing. I knew I was going to return when I couldn't walk up the stairs. I I just, in my mind, it never fazed me whether I would or would not. Even when the doctors were telling my family, you know, she might never walk again. I didn't really process that I was never going to. But then I also didn't process that I was not going to return to who I was before. I thought that I was going to return to who I was before. I felt my personality didn't change that much, my opportunities. I could accomplish whatever I wanted to, which I was raised with that belief that I could create my own luck. I could be my own personal best. And by being my own personal best, it's different every day, but it's providing, and my best was quite often some of the best in the world. So I was used to that. And then when I started returning, there was one day that I clearly remember, and my mom was off ski instructing at Park City. My sister was off training, and I was just lying in bed in the morning. And I was lying in bed and I was like, who's going to notice if I don't get up? Who's going to notice if I go skiing today? Who's going to notice if I just lie here? And the answer was, nobody would notice. I was living at my family's house, so they would notice if I did it days on days, but that day, nobody would care what I did. So I realized I care what I do. I'm the person who's in charge of me. Everybody is a leader of themselves. And so if I wanted to do it, I could figure out how. And I started actually that winter. I was getting, it took a long time to realize I wasn't going to go back to competing, some months. But then at the time I was realizing I wasn't going to go back to competing, I started going to college because I found a new venue to put my time and energy and to recognize and that I wanted someone to grade me and judge me. And let me tell you, when I was on finals week every year, I would say, why in the world did you want somebody to grade you and judge you? Like, I did not want that at all. But before I started college, that's what I wanted. I wanted someone not to have nothing to do with my brain injury. I went back with no disabilities, and I wanted to be able to start pushing and finding out who I was again and finding out new goals. And actually, before the Sochi Olympics, it was the U.S. team was thinking I was going to go. I actually hurt my knee and I didn't go. And that's another story I talk about in my keynote, because for my whole life, I wanted to be an Olympic athlete, and I was not, and I was close. But I figured out what I really wanted was not just the Olympics. It was the opportunities that like go with it and to create that. And so back to it. So when I was doing public relations, like PR training and media training with the US team, I wrote down what I wanted to accomplish after the Olympics and what I wanted to use my notoriety. And I said to convince everybody, especially women, that they can accomplish what they want to and overcome all struggles in their life if they change their mindset and build habits to be their own personal best. And then I didn't go to the Olympics, and I had a burn injury, and I used that training, which I had been taught growing up because my mom would teach me that. She actually is the one who, the quote, "be your own personal best," is from Mama Fruit. So I was raised with that. And with my brain injury, I went back to be your own personal best. And sometimes it's doing double backflips, and sometimes it's swallowing a glass of water. Your personal best changes.
There are so many things that you said that I was trying to make a mental note or take a mental note. One of them was that when you're going through this, you don't, and it's easy now to look back and to say that was the moment, that was the pivot, that was the line in the sand, that was almost the fork in the road. But when you're actually just in the moment and living it, you don't get the luxury of being able to pause or to be able to reflect or introspect. You just execute. You just move forward. Because the only thing that you can't do is stop moving forward or stand still. Because if you stand still, you fall back. And then you, as you continued, what I thought was interesting is how you went back to college and you needed people to grade you. You needed. This was part of your life. Part of your life was to perform and then to be evaluated and to use that feedback to reframe and to revisit and to keep on growing. Now, obviously, as a public speaker, that's where we met. You know, we get graded a lot, right? Based on people laughing, people booing, you know, for me, maybe if I'm too controversial, the applause, the evaluations, that's part of both of our lives. But at the end of the day, the third thing you said, to bring it all home, is that you need to be able to do this for yourself. You are performing for yourself. You need to get out of bed for yourself. You can't wait for somebody to call you and pick you up. You have to pick yourself up. And I think, you know, that kind of brings us to your keynote. And obviously, you talk about your life. You talk about your adversity. But the thing that struck me is, and I'll read it, how to create your luck when things become crazy in your personal life or company. How does one create luck? Because surely luck is not something that is in our control.
Well, I think a lot of the luck you can control. And the way you control it is by building habits and preparing yourself to receive those opportunities. And so there is some luck that you don't have any control. And whether a lot of different religions associate that luck with God, spirituality, that kind of luck we don't control. But we do control how we respond to the situations in our life, and we create the luck in our outcomes. So we don't create the luck in every situation that happens, but in every outcome, we create the opportunities that we're going to embark on. And so by building the habits, and I do keynotes to some different audiences that vary a little bit, that are all about building habits and being able to create your own luck.
So what give me an example. What is a habit, or what are some of these habits that people could think about building and building into their lives to help them become, quite frankly, luckier?
So some habits, like what a story I tell about something that happened to me after my brain injury, was I would lose my phone all the time. Now, trust me, I still lose my phone. That's just what people do. But I would lose things constantly. And so my mom said, every time you put down your phone, put it on the railing. Every time. So I would either have it in my hand or on the railing. And then afterwards, I would say out loud 3 times where I was putting my phone down. So I'm putting my phone on the table. I'm putting my phone on the table. I'm putting my phone on the table. And then I would say it 3 times in my head once I had graduated from that. And then I would just say it silently in my mind every time I was putting my phone down. And so being able to take strategies to implement into your life to strengthen areas where you're the weakest. So if you're bad at organizing and you have bad time management and you can't ever keep on track and you feel like you're always running late, figure out if it, like writing on your calendar, writing reminders on your phone, finding things to do, but set up strategies to be able to fix those problems, which are your weakest points. And by habits, that means repetition. So the more repetition you do of those strategies that you've built, and it actually helps change your synaptic connections. And that means your nerve pathways. So everybody, whether you've had a brain injury or not, can create new nerve pathways and help better themselves and change their brain by creating habits, which are doing it over and over again, these actions. And so by changing your synaptic connections is something that is actually possible after a brain injury. And a lot of people after a brain injury think that their deficits are permanent. They're like, okay, this is permanent. This is their new life. And a lot of caretakers and doctors are feeling this way as well, and voice it to them, the expectations. And so my doctors voiced the expectations that I was never going to ski again. I might never even walk again. And I was lucky. I have a sister who's a doctor, and my family is very crazy, and they don't listen to anybody that they don't want to. So they said, you don't actually know. We have PhD masters in psychology, and we know that you don't know if she's going to do that or not. So we're going to love whoever she becomes and whatever level she gets to. So don't give us the bad outcome. But quite often people will be told what they're going to accomplish, and then they only reach that level instead of building habits to strengthen the parts that are the weakest.
And a small habit leads to a larger habit, leads to momentum, leads to consistency. I was smiling the whole time because I was just thinking of my wife, who's always losing her phone, and of course you met her when we were together, and I was like, Terry, are you listening? Put the phone on the railing. Put the phone on the railing, please. But you know, the on a more serious note, I think the thing that I take away from that, Jamie, is that every one of those habits is a small victory. And I've been talking about that throughout this quarantine period, which is when we are so down on ourselves, or just feel like the whole world is down, we need to create those new habits. We need to create those victories and savor those victories and generate those new, those new synaptic patterns. And so I have two more questions, very quick questions for you, because we're going to move over to the Zoom room, and you can actually interact with Jamie yourself. So all you got to do is come over to bit.ly/CoronaTV after show, and Jamie will be with us for about 20 minutes or so. Jamie, what have you been doing during quarantine, during this period, to keep yourself positive, to keep yourself alert, to build those habits, so to speak, and also think about, kind of how you're going to bounce back. As I said, not many people are hiring keynote speakers at the moment for in-person events. So what are you doing right now to stay positive and use what you've learned in your life to kind of propel yourself forward?
What I'm doing right now is I'm a guest lecturer, virtual guest lecturer at a college in California, their master's occupational therapy program. And I'm telling my stories and my firsthand experience mixed with research. So one of the things I'm doing is I'm giving educational presentations to different therapy programs and different neurology programs and mindset transformation programs that want to hear my stories. And then I'm also studying neuroscience remotely through Harvard. And I started that because I'm so passionate about how you change your synaptic connections, like how you change your nerve pathways, and basically all the science that goes and backs up my hypothesis and my thoughts. And so that's what I'm doing to strengthen my career, to talk more in the health education, is to get science to back me up. And then honestly, I'm like a lot of people. I have days where I have meltdowns and I cry. And the thing that I want to share is everyone has those days where you feel overwhelmed and frustrated, and that's okay. Don't hide it, don't suppress it. And then what I do is I find something that makes me feel happy. Like I will go dig in the yard work. I will do something that I can see, like for me, things that I can see visible progress makes me happy. So I'll go garden or something that I'm outside and I can create an accomplishment and just don't think about what's stressing me out. And then I'll just move on and get over it. And it also helps a lot to have somebody, either a journal or a person that you can go vent to and just let it out. Because that's something I learned over my process, was don't hold in your worries and your fears. Let it out, and then you can move on from it.
There was so much of value in those words of wisdom, and they really are words of wisdom. The visible progress, which is so important. Going back to what you were said, getting out of bed, but also recognizing that some days you're just going to stay in bed for that little bit longer as well. Learning a new skill, continuing to study. These are all things that I hope you guys watching are doing. Take it to heart, and recognize that these pieces of advice that you hear on the show every day, they're designed with one goal in mind, and that's to make sure that we are all part of the rising tide that floats all boats. So, Jamie, the floor is yours to talk a little bit about some of the things that you're doing. I know you're making a documentary. tell us about MoCrazy Strong with your sister. I think people would definitely want to stay in contact with you. This is how you can stay in contact with Jamie, through MoCrazyStrong.com, and Jamie's speaker website is jamiemocrazy.com. So what would you like to plug? Because you certainly are an inspirational person, and I know people are going to want to find out more.
Well, thank you. The easiest way to contact me is through social media. So Instagram, Jamie MoCrazy, Facebook, Jamie MoCrazy, LinkedIn, Jamie MoCrazy. And if you just contact me on social media, send me a message, that tends to be the smoothest way. I always respond. Just tell me like what you're working on and how you set an attainable goal, or like something you can accomplish. And I'd love to just have a conversation with you and tell you what I'm working on as well. But anyways, that's how you can discuss with me. And then also mocrazystrong@gmail.com is the email that you can use to book me for events or to virtual events. I'm doing those virtual events or school events. So, you know, if you have a class and I've gone in as a guest speaker talking about the motivational aspect of comparing COVID-19 with a traumatic brain injury. So how you look at it with the similarities that I've learned, because it's taken me 5 years and it's still working on it. And you don't maybe want to spend 5 years learning those lessons. So I can share those. And then also, if you have programs that are connected directly to brain injuries, like speech therapists or something like that, and you want to hear more stories, virtual presentations, or you have a company that, you know, every company is encountering struggles right now. So how do they get over it? That kind of stuff. And I can send my speaking reel and more information. And you can contact me at mocrazystrong@gmail.com. And yeah, I'm creating a documentary. I've been working on it since last summer. And it's about my story and how a change in your mindset will change your outcomes and allow you to create the luck in the outcomes to opportunities. And it's like most everything in the world right now has a little bit of a roadblock with COVID-19 right now. But we have some exciting stuff, and it's a little bit on the halt, but it's gonna be coming for sure.
Well, Jamie, thank you so much for coming on today. It's great to reconnect with you. Really was a pleasure. Jamie and I are going to go over to the Zoom room. We're going to take advantage of this beautiful outdoorsy motif that you see around you. Have a great Monday. Come on over to the Zoom room. Let's hang out a little bit. And I think you'll agree with me, and hopefully you'll join with me to keep on sending encouragement and motivation and just words of support for Jamie and people like Jamie, because you know what, I don't know sometimes that they realize how inspirational they are to us and how they lift us up, even if they're not trying. But we need more people like Jamie to share their stories. So that's it from me today. I'll be back hopefully without the video lag tomorrow. Yeah, take care. Bye-bye.